Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you are doing well, and today we're talking about this announcement that was made just the other day, which is that Disney Plus, which is now what the streaming service is going to be called, it has an official name, Disney Plus, which is okay, I guess. I mean, it's to the point. It is indeed Disney, and it is indeed extra content, so Disney Plus seems to make sense. But what they have done is they have greenlit a project to go in depth into a character from Star Wars Rogue One, or Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I get it confused every single time, which was going to be, or it's going to be, a prequel series. Obviously, spoiler alert, almost every person in Rogue One dies, which is really not that much of a surprise, seeing that it's taking place before... it's taking place before the Star Wars New Hope. It's taking place during the process of them getting the plans to the Death Star. And since none of those characters who got those plans ever were talked about ever again, it was only the logical conclusion that most of them would die. One of those characters is a character played by Diego Luna. And that is who this series is going to be about. Now, we talked about this on the Common Sense Crew last night on Ivan Ortega's channel. If you have not seen it, please check it out. It is fantastic. It was a very good time. But the thing that got me the most about this is that this has identity politics written all over it. And not only does it have identity politics written all over it, but even worse so, they chose the wrong story. And let me tell you why. Diego Luna's character is probably one of the least interesting characters in the entire movie. He's a character where, and again, it's not anything against Diego Luna. I think he's a fine actor. There's nothing wrong with his performance, but there's definitely something wrong with the writing and specifically the way that his character is written. His character is extremely uninteresting. You end the movie and you say, okay, why should I care about this character? You really don't. And anyone who says, oh, I love this character, probably wasn't watching the same movie that I was watching, because he was not interesting. He didn't have anything interesting. And to anyone that says, oh, I love this character, please tell me one line that's memorable that he says. Please tell me one thing memorable that he does. Other than him killing someone in the beginning of the film, what is something memorable that he does? It's very hard to remember. And a good character, specifically a good Star Wars character, is always going to have at least one defining moment. Something that you're going to be able to remember, possibly a line, and something that you will always talk about in day-to-day discussions, in your weekly discussions, whatever. I'm a pop culture guy, so maybe you don't have this kind of experience, but I quote things from my favorite movies all the time. I quote things from my favorite characters all the time from TV shows and movies as well. So that's just kind of my mindset. So that is how I at least perceive whether or not a character is good or not, because at the end of the day, he is just not memorable. And I think a lot of people have that same opinion of his character. Again, I'm not saying that his character is awful. I'm not saying that his character is one of the worst characters ever to exist, like a Rose Tico or like a Jar Jar Binks. What I am saying is that it's not memorable. It's definitely not good enough to get a prequel series, to get an entire series dedicated to the character. And to me, this goes into the deepest problem of Lucasfilm right now, Disney's Lucasfilm right now. They do not know what sells. They do not know. And people will say, oh, what about the $2 billion? All of them made money. Yes, but notice how everything has gone downhill since then. Fan interest has dropped tremendously as well. And the reason why is because they're taking stories either that people don't want to see, like, for example, Solo, a Star Wars story, not a movie that we needed. The movie was a C-level movie, but you know what? It wasn't anything that we needed. And that's why no one went to go see it, because it was like, I don't really care. Now they're making this, and it's like, okay, it's going to be the same thing. Now it's going to have the protection of your streaming service, and you can just say, oh, no, we're not going to release the ratings. We're not going to release the view count, and it's probably not going to do nearly as well. But yet they will keep on pushing it out, and I'm sure it's going to have their typical SJW NPC political nonsense involved, because that's just what they do nowadays, and it's going to be awful. It's going to be bad. And once again, it's because you cannot create an entire story around a character that is just not interesting, that no one wants to see. Now, if they wanted to make bank, and I said this in the stream last night, if they wanted to make absolute bank, they have the capacity. They have the capacity to do that, and that is by making a movie about this dude right here. This guy right here is fantastic. Donnie Yen is an amazing, not just a good actor, but also an amazing stuntsman. He is and also probably the best character in Rogue One. Hands down, the most interesting and also the most badass character in the entire movie. Some people might say, oh, but Darth Vader. Okay, that scene was shoehorned in to try and give the fans something to remember the movie by. And without that scene, what's the movie do? Nothing that interesting. Nothing that intriguing. Except for this guy. This is the best part of the movie. Donnie Yen's character is fantastic. I always forget his name. Shirut Imwe. Fantastic character. Now, if you want to make a successful series, if you want to do something that's going to bring fans in, that's going to bring money in, you could probably make an independent film about this character and it would make money. You want to know why? One, his character was interesting in Rogue One. That's the starters. You have a character that people actually want to know more about. He was the only character, the main character in the entire movie that I thought to myself, I want to know this guy's backstory. I want to know more about him because he is such a badass. I want to know, how did he become a badass? How did he become so force sensitive? You know, how did he become the man that he was? I want to know his story. So you already have an interesting character, and that's very important. You need to have, especially if you're making a prequel series, you need to have an interesting character. Why do you think the prequel series worked? The entire prequel series, I'm talking about episodes 1 through 3, the entire series worked because it was all about the origins of Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. It was Anakin Skywalker's story. And so therefore, you had an interesting character. You had Darth Vader, and guess what? He was an interesting person. We wanted to know. Fans want to know, oh, how did he become Darth Vader? That sounds amazing. You put that concept out there and say, oh no, I'm down for that. He was one of the best characters. He's one of my favorite parts of the original trilogy. Boom, I want to know more about him. Now, we can talk about the prequels all you want. You know, obviously, I know there's people who have differences of opinion on that, but at the end of the day, makes sense. But Rogue One, you're going to make a movie. You're going to make, rather, a series. So even more content on Diego Luna's character, one of the most uninteresting and insignificant characters in the entire movie. Now, some people might say, oh no, he's not that insignificant, you just need to rewatch it. I'm sorry, but the fact that I don't really remember what he does and what he says tells me all that I need to know. Because there are other characters in the movie that I remember. Yeah, I know, I can remember Jyn Erso's character. You know, I can remember things that she did. Also, I can remember Donnie Yen's character very well. Because look, he is a badass. He is awesome. He was able to take on stormtroopers with just a staff. And he's blind. It's like the epitome of force is this dude. This guy is like a walking walking representation of the force. And you passed on it. Now someone could probably say, oh yeah, well, you know, they thought about it and Donnie Yen was interested. You can recast him. Because guess what? The beauty about doing a prequel is that you can go back in time. And therefore, you can cast a younger actor. And guess what? People would be interested in that. Now, of course, I think it would be better off if they had Donnie Yen for other reasons, too. And this is the reason why I think it would be a good box office move to actually make this a movie instead of a series. This dude right here is extremely popular in China. What is one of the markets that Star Wars is struggling in the most right now because they're making terrible movies? Oh, wait, that's right. China. Putting Rose Tico into the movie is not going to... I mean, look, I have a Rose Tico action figure. I mean, I love Rose Tico. I'm a Tico path. But at the end of the day, Tico's not going to bring tickets. Just look at Episode 8. Episode 8 did not do very well. Rose Tico's not going to change that. But if you have a series where the star, that lead person, is Donnie Yen, who's already a big star, that is how you make money. And this is what bothers me so much. Star Wars, Disney, has so much potential. Has literally an entire universe, an entire galaxy to play with. And instead they choose to go down these rabbit holes of stupid ideas. And then not only do they choose stupid ideas, but then they try and play identity politics on top of that. So not only are they going after the least interesting people, but then on top of that, they're preaching to you. And that's the reason why we see Star Wars in the current state that it is. That's the reason why Solo lost $200 million. That's the reason why Episode 9 is not going to do nearly as well as Episode 8 or Episode 7. As I said before, I don't think it's going to break $1 billion because I think the fandom has been so broken by Lucasfilm and by the reaction of Lucasfilm to its fans who have been critical. I don't think you're going to be able to bring them back. You could throw anything in the kitchen sink at it, and I don't think it's going to be enough. Because you don't make good decisions. You make a decision to make an entire series dedicated to this guy. Which, again, we already know. The whole mindset of Disney at this point is identity politics, identity politics, identity politics. Oh, we can reach out. Identity politics. We can, we can preach something. And you know what? We said this on the Common Sense crew last night. You know what they're going to do? They're going to make it where his backstory is that he's in a country and he's not welcome because he's a part of an immigrant family, etc. Because you know what? That is where Disney's mind is. This is like, to me, this is a story where I would not be surprised. And you heard it first on the Common Sense crew last night. I would not be surprised if they decided to turn this into a modern-day American story and an attack on Donald Trump. And you could say all you want, it's like, oh, you're just being racist, or etc. It's like, no. Let's be honest. What has Disney done lately? What is the message that Disney has tried to put forward? That is the most logical thing that they would do at this point in time. And even if let's say they don't go that route. Let's say they decide to go another route. You know they're going to put politics into it. You know it because as they've been doing that ever since they got hold of the Star Wars universe. They've been doing that ever since they got their grubby hands on it. And that's exactly what they're going to do with this story. I'm sorry. Let's just be honest. Let's at least be honest with ourselves. That is what they're going to do. Some people, you might like that. But for most audiences, I would say, for hardcore audiences, for hardcore Star Wars fans, no. We don't want stories about characters that we don't care about. We do not want stories about characters that are forgettable. We want stories about awesome characters. I'm sorry, like, I would love to see this. I would see this as a series. I would watch this as a movie. Because this is a character, one of the most interesting characters, probably the most interesting character in Rogue One. Again, there are a couple other cool characters too, but definitely to me, this is the one that has the most potential because not only do you have a badass character and a badass actor to play that character, but also you have international appeal. You can reach out to the China box office and you can bring in a fortune. You could bring in a fortune with this concept, but you know what? They're not going to do that. Not only would it make fans happy, not only would it make audiences happy, they'd have to make it where it wouldn't fit their agenda. And that is the reason why they're never going to make this film, because even though this is diversity, even though this is representation on screen, because they don't have nearly as easy of a route to turn and politicize this and to turn this into some kind of agenda, that's the reason why they're not going to pursue this. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Would you love to see a movie starring Donnie Yen? I think that'd be awesome. I would love to see a solo movie starring Donnie Yen. And if they did it right, of course, I think it'd be awesome. You know, and also, what are your thoughts on Disney Plus? Are you getting still, you know, where are you on that? Are you going to get it? I mean, I'm still at the point where I'm like, I'm not really sold, especially if you're going to be selling me, if the Star Wars series you're going to be selling me are Resistance and now this thing, please, please, continue to try and push away your fan base. Because again, you could take away anything else. This is an uninteresting character who's getting their entire series. To me, it's not as bad as this, but it would be like if Jar Jar Binks got his own series. Now, I know there's some people out there saying, oh no, Jar Jar Binks series would be great. I know, I hear you. But that's like, it's just not a good idea. But guys, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It helps me out so much. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a great day. And as always, God bless.